Hey there, my name is Cole Adams, and you are watching the best college basketball podcast out there that covers the entire sport of college basketball, brackets, bubbles, and bid stealers. Now, here are your hosts, Sam Fetterman and Jonathan Lidskin.
Season 6, 58 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. I am Sam Fetterman. That is Jonathan Lidskin. Jonathan, happy Friday. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. A lot of stuff to talk about this weekend.
We are joined by Sam Lance from Field of 68. Sam, welcome to your Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers debut.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. You know, we got a Mizzou alum and a Kansas alum podcasting before the big game. I mean, this is
could get interesting
right here.
I don't know how much we're going to be able to get into that one, because tomorrow night we are planning on doing our first Michael DeRosa Saturday night show of the year. So that's going to be electric, as it always is, especially when he's watching UFC, which he will be. We have that going on tomorrow night. We don't know exactly what time that's going to be. We'll keep you updated, but we'll have recaps of the big games from tomorrow, from tonight. Today, we have to preview those games. We have to get into that. Make sure that before we get started, you are subscribed to wherever you get your podcasts, to Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you get your podcast from somewhere else, I would be surprised. But then follow us on Twitter at BBBCBB Podcast, on Instagram at BBBCBB Podcast. We're posting a little more on Instagram now, so you can get that. And we also have to get into some of the stuff that we saw on Wednesday and Thursday night. Wednesday was a solid slate. Thursday was a pretty light slate. Sam, you were at Arkansas, Louisville on Wednesday. Just quickly, what did you notice in that game?
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway, even with Louisville's loss, is Michael Brown Jr. was undoubtedly the best NBA prospect on the floor, and that was with Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas, obviously being on the floor as well. So I know Michael didn't have his best game, but he still impressed me a lot. And honestly, I just thought Louisville kind of had a bad game. Arkansas, their switching five defensively kind of gave them problems. And whenever I was watching, it almost looks like at times that Arkansas is messing up defensively with how much they switch. But as Mike Latula pointed out on the Field of 68, sometimes that defensive, just being erratic kind of creates confusion. I think Louisville got a little confused against Arkansas, and that kind of led to them not having the best offensive day. But still very high on Louisville after that one, and I think Arkansas has as much talent as anybody in the country.
I think you make a good point about kind of Arkansas's switches. Like, they do have a lot of athleticism, 1 through 5, to the point where you can put some of their lengthier guys on these Louisville guards, and it can give them a tough time from the perimeter. Michael Brown, Ryan Conwell, a combined 5 of 25 from 3. McNeely 1 for 5 himself, so 6 of 30 from your 3 shooters. You're not going to win a lot of games when that happens, and that's going to happen every once in a while because that's how college basketball works. I think it's just kind of one of those nights for Louisville where the shots didn't fall. Arkansas, credit to them for taking advantage of it. Jonathan?
Yeah, to kind of echo what you guys said. I mean, that Arkansas roster is designed to play that way, and when you have that much athleticism and can switch like that, it's tough to get off the shots from the perimeter that Louisville wants to. So I'm not particularly surprised that game went that way. Arkansas is a tough place to go in and win.
Yeah, I have some expanded thoughts on the ACC SEC challenge that I did on the Up the Coasts podcast last night with Tyler Cronin. So check that out if you want to hear a little more about some of the other stuff I talked about, like my concerns with NC State. Obviously, they're giving up a lot of open shots on the perimeter because it could be because they just have nothing inside right now. With Van Allen Lubin not being a good interior defender, they have to commit resources, and it's not helping them. Auburn flamed them from beyond the arc. Auburn probably a little bit ahead of where I thought they would be right now.
Yeah, Auburn is really interesting to me because Petford hasn't exactly gotten going yet, and they're still doing pretty well and winning games. With NC State, I think it's just going to take some time for all the new pieces to kind of mesh together. I mean, they have so many different guys who were in completely different roles a year ago than what they're asked to do now. So I think it's going to kind of be a waiting game with NC State, but I am really impressed with Auburn and Keyshawn Hall. Every time I watch Keyshawn Hall play, I think about how Kansas went after him in the portal and didn't end up getting him. So Keyshawn Hall, man, that dude can hoop. He's had 20 plus in I think 6 out of 8 games now for Auburn.
Yeah, just gonna mention it here. I don't know how fixable NC State's problem of having Van Allen Lubin at center is. We saw how this was a problem when Carolina had Lubin and Jalen Washington last year. I do think this gets better. The defense gets better when Terrence Arsenault kind of starts to settle in, but he hasn't yet. That's something that we're going to need to see from NC State. And we'll get into Auburn a little bit later. Minnesota took down Indiana. Winning on the road in conference play, Jonathan, is very difficult to do.
Yeah, indeed. I don't think Minnesota's quite as bad as they've played. I don't think Indiana's quite as good as they've looked so far. I think that, this game is a good indicator that, first of all, it's still hard to win on the road in the Big Ten. It's maybe harder to win on the road in the Big Ten than any other conference. But I think that, Indiana's going to have off nights the way they play. And when they don't hit shots, it's going to be tough to win, especially on the road.
Yeah. Don't remember who pointed it out on Twitter the other day, but again, on Cade Tyson, the free throw rate is through the roof this year. He's averaging 10 free throw attempts a game almost. He's 82.7% free throw rate. That's a foul shot for 8 out of every 10 field goals that he takes, which is pretty crazy. It's big for a guy that shoots as well as he does.
It's big for Cade Tyson overall too. Just not necessarily coming to North Carolina, averaging 2.3 points per game, not living up to it. To be able to rebound at Minnesota, I think a lot of credit goes to Cade Tyson there.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot over the offseason, but I will say Minnesota also. 40 minutes out of him, 39 from Asima, 38 from Reynolds, 37 from Durkin. That is a lot of minutes to play in a December game.
Yeah, they have guys hurt right now, and
they were without Chancey Willis.
Yeah, they're down to 7 scholarship players right now.
Yeah,
so good on them to go out and get that win.
Yeah, absolutely. Virginia, Texas. Again, I kind of talked about that on Up the Coast, if you want to hear about it. Wisconsin killed Northwestern. Vanderbilt beat SMU. Vanderbilt now, by the way, up to 7th in KenPom, the number 2 ranked offense. Anything else of note that you guys want to mention from the last 2 nights?
Donovan Dent looked pretty decent. He's kind of been struggling. I think Cronin said that he was battling some sort of injury in the post game there. So maybe we'll be seeing the best version of Donovan Dent coming up soon, and UCLA is going to need it.
A couple of other notes that I have. Iowa State scored 132 points on Wednesday. That's a lot of points. Columbia is now 8-1 under Kevin Hovde after beating a good Hofstra team at home. And then there was Richmond taking down undefeated Belmont on Wednesday night. Belmont now 8-1. Richmond having a nice year as well. Then there was last night where South Florida finally kind of took advantage of one of their chances. Got a win against Utah State at home. Held them to 61. Utah State no longer undefeated.
Punked Utah State, I'll add. I mean, just absolutely punked them.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on and talk about the big games that we have coming up tonight and tomorrow. Let's start tonight in Nashville. where Gonzaga will be playing against Kentucky. Kentucky, a lot of discussion about where they're at right now. We talked about it on Tuesday night. We've talked about it before. I was a little bit hesitant to get really nervous about them right after the Champions Classic. But after the performance that they put on against North Carolina at home, I'm definitely starting to get nervous about Kentucky. They do have, they will have a big crowd, obviously, for this one against Gonzaga in Nashville. Gonzaga has not played since the blowout loss to Michigan. But again, that was kind of an everything goes right for Michigan, everything goes wrong for Gonzaga type of game. Jonathan, what are you most looking forward to out of this one?
Gonzaga getting back to, looking like normal Gonzaga. They have gotten over a week to prep for this, and Kentucky has not looked good. They have nobody that can make plays. Sorry, I'll be right back. Hold on.
Sam?
Yeah, to me, Gonzaga is undoubtedly a top 5 team in the country. I mean, just with their continuity, big to big passing. I mean, Ike and Huff have been incredible this season. And then defensively, I mean, just so much length Gonzaga can throw at you. And I think Tyon Grant-Foster is one of the most underrated defenders in the country. I mean, that dude can really guard. I think Kentucky's in trouble, Fetterman. I really do. I mean, Gonzaga is a really tough team, and for a Kentucky team to start 5-4, which I think is the likely possibility here tonight with a $22 million roster, is not ideal.
If you go to bracketsbubblesandbidstealers.com, the other day I did checking in on storylines, because the last thing we posted was the night before the season started. We posted top 5 storylines for the season. I checked in on those storylines and I added 5 more. One of the storylines that I added is that Kentucky, with this big figure roster number of 22 million that's been floated out there, it's not living up to expectations. Yes, Quaintance hasn't played. Lowe has been hurt. Diabate is down a little bit as well. But when you have a $22 million roster, when you have that level of budget, you probably shouldn't be relying that much. And it's not like the defense has been bad without Quaintance. It's really kind of the offense that has looked disjointed.
Kentucky doesn't have any 3-point shooters, and that's kind of what Mark Pope's whole thing is. Colin Chandler is really the only guy you look at the roster that you're comfortable taking 5+ threes a game and making a decent amount. So I think that's kind of been the biggest problem for Mark Pope, is kind of figuring out how to win with almost having to play a new style, because he doesn't have the guys he's used to having.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed this with kind of overcorrection in terms of last year, where they obviously did not have any sort of a rim protection. This year kind of went all in on physicality for guys. They obviously brought back Garrison. They got Diabate. They brought back Owe. Malachi Moreno comes in. They went all in on that type of player. They were really interested in that. And obviously, Jalen Lowe was going to be their point guard. They were going to run a lot of ball screens with that as their option. But with Jalen Lowe out, they now don't have a true point guard on the roster. You're seeing Colin Chandler initiate offense, and that's not really his game. You're seeing Jasper Johnson kind of have to come on the floor and give them some playmaking.
Not a point guard whatsoever. Just not.
Yeah. And Jasper Johnson is just not the type of guy that you want in these types of games right now. Aberdeen's got to have to initiate offense. And I think Aberdeen has been pretty solid. I don't think you can really complain a ton about what Aberdeen's been able to do. It's just that he's kind of what he is. And he's being thrusted into a bigger role than he's probably capable of playing. And I think Owe just has not played up to his level. That's a concern, because he's also now has to do a little bit more of the playmaking. I think that if your $22 million roster, I don't remember who said this, is relying on Jalen Lowe to do as much as it seems like he's going to have to do, then you didn't allocate your resources particularly well. And we talked about this with Kentucky on Tuesday night, how they went that long without a basket. in that North Carolina game, Gonzaga's defense has looked awesome this year, as you mentioned. They have so much length, so much athleticism. They can match Kentucky's physicality in the paint, especially without Diabate, who's the type of guy that fits into that. I think Gonzaga can fly around. They can turn. I think they'll be able to turn Kentucky over a little bit. I think they'll be able to get out. They'll be able to run, and I think Gonzaga definitely has the matchup advantage right now because of their length, their athleticism, and what they can do on the perimeter defensively. And then, yeah, I do think it'll be an interesting test for Ike and Huff going up against another good front line, even without Quaintance. Kentucky has been a pretty solid defense on the interior. North Carolina, they kind of held Caleb Wilson to a bad game on the inside. North Carolina was only 45% inside the arc in that game. Obviously, Louisville kind of got what they wanted, but they also will open you up with the threes, and Michigan State kind of did the same. The game does kind of come down to whether Kentucky's going to be able to create offense and hit shots. Again, I do think there's a path for Kentucky without kind of playing to their ceiling. If Gonzaga kind of struggles from the outside, has to kind of pack it in, and it doesn't end up, and they can kind of lean a little bit back onto defense and kind of get themselves into that similar type of game that they got into with North Carolina, where they can kind of pull it out if they just get a couple more buckets. But the problem is they don't have the guys right now that I trust to get those couple of buckets late in the game, and we saw that in the North Carolina game. Like really, really reared its ugly head. At some point, you have to have someone that's going to unlock the game for you, and they didn't have that. And
I think that can be Aberdeen right now, but again, he's
sure.
I think he's okay, but some of the shots, man, that he takes, it's like,
like sure, it can be Aberdeen, but the reason why it was able to be Aberdeen last year was because of all the attention that you had to give to their other guards and at Florida. And I get that his usage isn't that much higher. It's 3%. It's 3% higher this year, but it feels like they're relying on it a lot more in these bigger games. I mean, he took 20 shots against Louisville, 13 shots against North Carolina, 8 shots and 8 free throws against Michigan State. I don't think that this Kentucky team right now is built to beat Gonzaga. I do think there are ways in which they can give themselves a chance. As I mentioned, if Gonzaga's not a great outside shooting team so far this year, if they can kind of limit that and and kind of control Gonzaga's bigs to enough levels, because I do think that Kentucky does have a decent interior defense. Moreno's been pretty solid.
Moreno's been awesome, I will say, kind of emerging here lately. He has looked really good.
But I think that there's many more paths for Gonzaga to win this game than Kentucky.
I agree.
All right. I know Jonathan missed that whole segment, but
sorry, boys.
But we'll get him to a segment that he will help us out a lot more with. We'll move to tomorrow, where a home and home is finally going to be reciprocated. Duke hosted Michigan State in the Stone Age, and now Michigan State was the Duke Michigan State game at Duke like pre-podcast?
Yes, it was. It actually only happened because it was during the COVID year, and it was part of the Champions Classic.
It's right. It was December 1st, 2020. It's been 5 years. 5 years and 5 days later, and Duke will go to the Breslin Center. A different head coach. This is the 4th season of a different head coach from the one that played that home game. And Michigan State going into the Duke going into the Breslin Center. Duke did have the true road game against Army, but this is Duke's first true road test of the season. And this is going to be a really, really interesting matchup. Jonathan, I want to hear some of your first thoughts on what gives each side their respective advantages.
So I think Michigan State is just a really physical veteran team, and that's probably why I give them a slight edge here. But, Duke is obviously extremely talented, and if they can break out of their slump shooting the ball, then I think that's what gives them the edge here. Now, Michigan State has been really good running teams off the line this year. They don't allow a ton of three-point makes to begin with, and that's just because I think that they do a really good job getting out and hedging screens, getting up and contesting, and they have like long perimeter players themselves. On the Duke side of this, like I think Duke's going to want to play in transition. Don't let Michigan State set up their half-court defense as much as possible. And if you can do that successfully, I think that's how you go into Breslin and get a road win. Now, the other concern I have for Duke is like what Caleb Foster are we getting? Because I don't think Duke is winning a road game like this without good point guard play. Like he will be the one that controls the game, sets everything up in the half court for them. And how much can Duke get in the half court without sets being run?
But first of all, just how great is this for college basketball? I mean, Duke at the Breslin Center is going to be absolutely electric. The thing I'm probably most interested to see is how Cam Boozer deals with this very veteran front line. Obviously, coming off, dominating Florida. I mean, Cam Boozer's just, made Tennessee and Florida's front lines just look silly the last couple of games here. So I'm interested to see how that goes up against Michigan's, very veteran front line with Cooper and Kohler and everybody there. And then maybe even Cam Ward, another freshman coming in and maybe having to stop Boozer a little bit. So if Michigan State can contain Cam and contain, which is funny to say is probably under 20 and 10 for Boozer, probably in that 15 to 20 range. Containing him, I think, is going to be the biggest key for Michigan State.
I look at kind of what Boozer is able to do, obviously, as he can roll out of bed and give you 20 and 10, and it's like it's nothing. And that's kind of the thing about this. It's we know that's going to happen. That's going to happen, probably. It's just that the fact of the matter is, for Michigan State, they have arguably they have one of the best point guards in the country in terms of controlling the pace of the game, in terms of playmaking, in terms of basically, he's one of the best point guards in the country in general, in Jeremy Fears. He's been the best player on the floor in in the last three of Michigan State's high major games. The game against Iowa, he was the best player on the floor. He completely shut down Bennett Sturts for most of that game. In the Carolina game, he was the best player on the floor. And in the Kentucky game in the second half, he was the best player on the floor. So Jeremy Fears, big game riser. Duke, their point guard situation, as Jonathan discussed, it's very inconsistent. Going into a tough environment, really difficult road environment, first big time true road game of the year. I think the last type of team that Duke wants to see in that type of atmosphere is the team with the super controlled point guard and then the super physical posts. That's going to be able to really in their ways control the pace and tempo and flow of the game. I think that's something that Michigan State does as well as anyone in the sport. Again, is Michigan State going to shoot the percentage from three that they shot against Kentucky? Probably not. They made 11 threes in that game. They made 5 in the Carolina game. They made 3 in the Iowa game. But again, they don't need to make a ton of threes. They can kind of slow the game down. They can play it on their terms. And if they can, and this is the type of team on the glass as well, that, hey, maybe it's not, that maybe instead of Cam Boozer getting 13 rebounds, he gets 8, and Michigan State grabs a couple offensive boards, scores over the top on those plays, and just ekes out a couple extra points on those extra possessions, because we know that's what Michigan State has been so good at this year. It's that they are one of the best rebounding teams in the sport. Mm-hmm. They have incredible duo of Cooper and Kohler as guys that have been seasoned through this system and know how to play in these types of games. Not saying Duke isn't built to play in these types of games. I just think that right now, in this spot, Michigan State is better prepared for the moment.
And at some point, everybody's got to stop doubting Michigan State. I think they've been the underdog in every single one of these big games that they played, and they've won them all. So I think at some point we're
not underdogs against Iowa.
We got to just, well, yes, against Iowa, obviously not. But I think in Arkansas, I believe they were an underdog at home against Arkansas. So hopefully Vegas has figured that out, that Tom Izzo can coach some ball and that this Michigan State team is pretty darn good.
Jonathan, there is another game tomorrow that is between the number 4 and number 2 teams on KenPom. It's the number 3 game of the day per fan match. And it's the number 3 game that we'll be talking about. And it's at the same exact time as Duke, Michigan State at noon. It's going to be on CBS. It's Iowa State, Purdue. This game's going to rock. It's one of the most fun games out there. I love what both of these teams bring to the table. Obviously, Purdue with Braden Smith, who we wrote about in that Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Steelers article at the beginning of the season, chasing Bobby Hurley's assist record. And then Josh Jefferson for Iowa State and Killian Torrey, who's been awesome for Iowa State with Tamin Lipsey out. And again, with this Iowa State team, first true road game going into Mackey Arena. I think this is kind of going to be a theme on this pod of what I'm talking about, because you're getting a lot of teams that are going into their first true road games in like big environments against other high-level teams. Purdue, that environment, that point guard, that big man, that coach, that program. Not to say Iowa State isn't that, but it's another spot where I just think it's really, really difficult to beat really good teams in their building.
Is Tamin Lipsey going to play?
I was wondering that.
Because Iowa State ain't winning this game without.
No. I mean, Torrey is good, but Braden Smith,
true freshman in a
update
road environment.
The update from Otts was we'll reevaluate him whenever we get over to the hotel, and then again in the morning. So it seems like that's still up in the air there for Lipsey. And Dominique Nelson is similar as well. Don't want to re-aggravate his injury, he said today. So looks like those two are still questionable.
Yeah, I think, if we want to take this as, Lipsey doesn't play, you're going to see a lot of Iowa State's offense run through Joshua Jefferson. Like that's going to be the case, regardless. But I think you're going to see a lot of him as like a point forward if Lipsey doesn't play. He's maybe the best playmaker on their roster, and that includes Tamin Lipsey. He does so much for their offense, and he's number 2 in KenPom Player of the Year right now. Like he's having a really good year.
Yeah, he's run a bunch of. He hasn't run a ton of ball screens this year, but on ball screens that they're running with Joshua Jefferson, Iowa State is at 1.478 points per possession. Again,
yeah, he has 10 assists in back-to-back games. I mean, that's just ridiculous from a 4-man. 10 assists, back-to-back games.
Yeah, when we kind of talked about Josh Jefferson 2 years ago when he was at St. Mary's, kind of at the beginning of that year, is like, hey, this is the breakout guy to keep an eye on. This is not like I never like I loved him from that point, but I never thought he would be like this legitimate like All-American level hub. But he's just grown into that over the last couple of years, and he looked the part of an All-American for a lot of the season last year as well, and he's clearly an All-American level player right now. And he hasn't had a single turnover in either of the last 2 games.
Wow. That's incredible. The one thing, if Taman doesn't play, I still think Iowa State has a chance just because of how good Torre has been. And I think Torre is capable of running the one. I think, Taman not being there hurts Iowa State most defensively, even though, Torre is a very capable defender. I think that's kind of where it mostly hurts them. But I'm curious, how do you guys think Iowa State will be able to combat Purdue's front court? Because I think that might be the biggest story here, is going against all those Purdue big guys.
I mean, I don't think Iowa State has like a bad front court. I think the front court's awesome with Jefferson and Buchanan. But I think the key is obviously the fact that Iowa State's defense thrives off of forcing turnovers. Braden Smith is just not a guy that turns the ball over all that much. And he's a veteran senior. And if it's not Taman Lipsey, it's going to be Killian Torre, freshman, obviously good defender. But in a big game like this, you want the experienced guy in Braden Smith against Torre. And obviously you want, if you're Iowa State, to have Lipsey on the ball guarding Braden Smith, because that's kind of like when this game gets scheduled, that's kind of what you circle and say, okay, Braden Smith, best point guard in the country, Taman Lipsey, one of the best on-ball defending point guards in the country. This should be really good. And I still would kind of give the edge to Braden Smith in this matchup, because I think that what they're able to do in terms of creating opportunities for him to get the ball to the post, and what he does for opening up lanes himself, manipulating the defense, manipulating the other 4 defenders on the floor, not just the one that is guarding him. I think he's so elite at that, and it creates so many opportunities for TKR to have like the couple feet of space that he needs, for Lawyer to get that outside shot, for Clough to be able to do his thing. And obviously Clough has been a monster on the glass, giving them another element in that department.
To answer your question, Sam, I don't think there's like a good way to play defense against Purdue. Like, I think they're going to be successful in some aspect, no matter what way you play. Like, if you play drop coverage, Braden's going to torch you and he's going to score. If you switch, like, Braden's going to hunt the mismatch. If you double, Braden's going to, dime guys out of that, like we saw against Houston last year. Like, I think you just kind of have to do what you do best defensively and hope that, you can force Purdue into some tougher shots, because I don't, if you're going to play TKR on the short roll, he's probably going to burn you. Like, and now Purdue's, rebounding. So just not a lot of good options, playing this team defensively. We said in the offseason that, this could be one of college basketball's like all-time great offenses, and they're trending in that direction.
Yeah. I just look at kind of the fact that these, obviously Duke and Iowa State going on the road to face Michigan State and Purdue, those are just really, really difficult places to go out and grab a win, especially for teams that, like, what are kind of the things you look for with an elite protect your home floor team? It's stability from it's stability in any way it comes. And that could be from an elite level point guard, which both Michigan State and Purdue have. It could be from an elite level kind of rebounding or defensive group. And I think that kind of Purdue has been awesome on the glass. Michigan State obviously awesome defensively. I think those two teams kind of have the elements of the elite protect your home floor teams. And it's going to be tough to go into those buildings and get a win.
Yeah.
All right. To Indianapolis, where it will be Louisville versus Indiana, two teams that will be really, really awesome shooting teams. This will be a really fun basketball game if the teams make shots. Neither of these teams made shots in their last game. This will be also on big CBS. And I think that's just, again, really good for college basketball right now to have like Fox, CBS, like big games on big networks this early in the season. And like when I say big games, I mean like legit big games, big brands, big teams that are going to be in the mix. And I think this is great for college basketball right now to have this and kind of take advantage of this. Obviously, there's intrigue in what's going on in college football, but this is a great weekend for college basketball. And Louisville, Indiana, going to be, I mean, there aren't a ton of, when you do get like a neutral site matchup where both fan bases are going to show up, it does become electric. And obviously, this is going to be basically an Indiana home game, but it's not like Louisville's fans aren't going to travel either. I think it's just this has potential to be one of the most fun games all year.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, these teams both play a style that's very fun to watch. And, when you get them in this atmosphere, going to be a lot of Indiana fans. Like you said, Sam, Louisville fans will definitely travel for this one too. But, I mean, the amount of threes that are going to be taken.
I will also say, Indiana's also playing in the Big Ten football championship in Indianapolis.
I mean,
right?
more the reason for, Indiana fans to be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And Virginia fans will have their doubleheader. It's with the Dayton basketball game and then the ACC championship, both in Charlotte as well. So a couple of those going on.
Funny how that worked out that way.
Yeah.
What is the over/under on 3-point attempts you guys think in this game?
I don't know, because here's the interesting thing about this. What was everyone's kind of major concern for Indiana coming into the year, Jonathan?
Rim defense.
Defense, and especially rim defense. Indiana's got the number 17 defense in the country. I know if you look at their schedule, they haven't really played anybody. They have not played against a team higher than 75th in Ken Pom. Kansas State, they played at home. They killed them. They were all over them. Mm-hmm. But I do think it's notable that Sam Alexis has come off the bench and been really, really good at protecting the paint for this team. He's kind of given them that element of physicality that they've needed. And again, though, I will say this is also not a team that I think is extremely well suited at guarding Louisville's perimeter guys.
My biggest wonder is who's going to guard Michael Brown and not allow him to get downhill off the bounce, because that's kind of what changed things for Louisville against Arkansas in the second half. Michael was able to start getting downhill a little bit and then start spraying it out. I don't know who on Indiana is capable of staying in front of him, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like Indiana is not the best. They will not finish with a higher ranked defense than offense this year. Jonathan, will you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Right now, they're 30 spots ahead in defense than they are in offense. I think Conaway is a solid defender. I don't think he has the level of athleticism that Michael Brown has in this game. And I also think that both of these teams are probably due for a better shooting night. Louisville, how many times are they going to shoot 8 for 37?
Not again.
Yeah. I mean, they shot 8 for 28 against Cincinnati, but Cincinnati is one of the best defenses in the sport. year in, year out. As for Indiana in this game, I think one thing that's kind of interesting is that Louisville has the guards. Indiana has like some more wings. It's obviously Wilkerson, DeVries have a little bit more size than the key guys for Louisville, and it's kind of the mismatch of that sort. So I don't think either team really has the right personnel to guard the other at a high level. And I think that's kind of what's going to make this a really fun one. And at the end of the day, it's going to come down to who makes more shots.
And I think Frew in the paint, if he's able to kind of control things against Alexis and Reed Bailey, I think that'll be pretty important as well. These teams are honestly really similar, really similar.
I also think with Louisville, they're probably a little bit deeper than Indiana at the moment. I think they can survive a little bit more. So that's something to keep an eye on in this game. But I'm super juiced up to listen to this game on the radio while I'm driving down to Binghamton tomorrow. Jonathan, anything else to add on this one?
I just generally think that you probably don't want to get into a shootout with Louisville, and that's what I'm afraid this game's going to turn into.
I also don't want to get into a shootout with Indiana, for what it's worth.
If Indiana is going to, win marquee games this year, it's going to be because their offense takes over a game, and this is not one I'm sure that they can do that.
All right. We've got two more of like the big game previews to go over, and then we've got a lightning round that we've got to get to with a lot more games. Now let's go back to Nashville for another quote unquote neutral site game. Again, a lot of matchups at neutral sites with teams that wear the same colors.
Yeah, at least this one you won't be able to tell,
Yeah, you have red on red with Louisville, Indiana, and Indianapolis. And then you have orange on orange. Another orange on orange for Tennessee. It's a lot of orange for the Vols this weekend. Man, if they go 0-2 against orange teams, they cede the right to wear that color the rest of the year, in my opinion. Jonathan, are you with that?
Yeah, I think especially if Tennessee wins, because that would be a sweep on the home and home there.
No, I said if Tennessee loses and goes 0-2 against orange teams this week, they
lose the right to wear orange.
The right to wear the color orange. They also they have good black jerseys.
Yeah, they might have gray jerseys too.
They do have gray jerseys. I'm not sure how much I like those. But,
yeah. No, but agreed. You can't go 0-2 versus orange teams in 1 week.
Tennessee did beat Mercer. That is an orange team.
I'm not sure how much
credit. Not a bad team either. Mercer's 6-2 has won 4 in a row. Really good backcourt that Ryan Ritter has. I'm going to take any opportunity I can to mention that. But I do think that the loser of this game cedes the right to wear orange for at least a period of time, especially considering Syracuse already has that win over Tennessee at this point.
Well, yeah, speaking of this game itself, it's a revenge spot for Illinois, who lost on their home floor last year to these guys on a buzzer beater. Some of Illinois' players are returners, so they obviously have that in their mind. Tennessee just needs a bounce back spot, and getting this game, in Nashville, where you're probably going to have a pretty large home advantage, even though Illinois does travel well. You lose to Kansas, you lose to Syracuse. This needs to be a get right game for Tennessee. But at the same time, Illinois hasn't been playing particularly well either. They lost to Bama a couple weeks ago. They lost to UConn last weekend. They're looking for a bounce back game. So I think this this is a game that I think can send one team in the right direction and one team in the wrong direction for the rest of the year.
Tennessee. I think Illinois has some solid resources with which to guard Ament with I think Stojakovic has been impressive defensively this year, and obviously Mirkovic as a big body guy that can move really well. And I think that's a kind of the type of frame that you're looking for. I don't think Amen is great at moving guys off their spot defensively, and I think that if you can kind of pressure him and force him to kind of take some of those bad shots, kind of not really get to his spots, because that is kind of where he struggles with getting to his spots. And they're relying on him a lot. He's taking a lot of shots. He's their leader in usage at 31%. I will say, I think this Tennessee team, I think like Jacoby Gillespie has not been playing at his absolute best in the last couple games either. I think that's part of it. But I also think that, again, Ament has not been, it does not have the skill set, in my opinion, to be a 30% usage guy. And they're asking him to do that right now. And I think that's a problem. I will also...
I would push back a little on that. I don't think it's his skill set that is preventing him.
It's the frame and this.
Yeah, it's where he is physically right now. He's very skilled, which is why NBA prospects like him so much.
I don't think he has the physicality necessary with his frame to be a 30% usage guy. But I also kind of don't like that Tennessee's best offense over the last Tennessee's best offense right now kind of seems like throw it into Jalen Carey. That doesn't seem like a great idea against the Ivisiches in the front court.
I have a lot of concerns about Tennessee, guys. I think Tennessee is one of the most fraud, top 15 to 20 ranked teams in the country.
Okay, right. I'll let you go with this. Go.
And Jacoby Gillespie and Nate Ament, great players. Who is their third option outside of those two guys? And like if like looking at the roster right now, it's Estrella and Carey and Akpara. I don't think having either of those guys being your third leading scorer is necessarily very positive. So I think Tennessee has too much riding on those top two guys. Like if Gillespie or Nate Ament has a bad game, Tennessee's chances of winning are very, very slim. So I'm not really sold on Tennessee at all this year. And the Kansas Jayhawks beat Tennessee with Jamari McDowell and Elmarco Jackson scoring a majority of the points. So I'll just leave that there. I'm not sold on Tennessee.
Can I just say something? I would like to congratulate Penn State for finally hiring a football coach.
Really? Just now?
It seems like they are working to finalize a deal to hire Matt Campbell on 3.
Wow. Look at
that. That's a brand move, Sam. It's a brand move for you guys. It only took them 60 days since they fired. All right, back to basketball, what this podcast is actually about. Tennessee does not. I had all of these concerns with them kind of in the preseason. I ranked them. I don't remember exactly where I ranked them, but it was a lot lower than most people did.
Uh-huh.
And like when they beat Houston, I was kind of like, okay. Tennessee's always going to be.
That's just a good matchup for them, and I think.
Tennessee's always Tennessee. Like, I do think that this Tennessee team is still like, hey, like they're Tennessee. Like they are tough on the defensive end. They rebound the ball. But like I think Illinois is tough on the defensive end. They rebound the ball, and I think I don't know if I'm as in on either of these teams as I have been at one point or another over the course of the season. I think Illinois has a lot of things to work out, but I trust a lot more that Illinois will be finding themselves in a strong position come February, come March than Tennessee. And I think that starts with Illinois winning this game at Nashville.
Yeah, that Texas Tech win, unfortunately, continues to look worse for Illinois.
Yeah.
Not a great sign.
Is that even still quad one?
It's got it.
Right? I doubt it.
It will be. It will be. I think Texas Tech.
I agree, but
right now it is not. Texas Tech is 36 in the net. I think Texas Tech gets back to the top 30. I don't know if they're going to get to the top 20, and I don't know if that's going to be a quad 1A win. But I do think Illinois is going to pull this one out against Tennessee.
I like Illinois. I like their group a lot this year. I mean, I think they have so many different weapons, and it can be for Illinois, it can be anybody's night on any given night. And I think that kind of helps them out. And shout out Keaton Wagler, man. I mean, that dude, he's from the Kansas area, went to Shawnee Mission, and nobody there were a lot of rumblings before the season about, that this Keaton Wagler guy, he's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody expected him to be as good as he is. I mean, he's averaging 13.5 points a game. I believe over 5 rebounds a game.
We'll caveat this. Then there are 3 games against Tech, Alabama, UConn, 91.5 offensive rating. Just going to put that out there. He has not scaled up particularly well yet.
He's young.
Yeah, he's young. Again, yet.
Yeah, I like Illinois. I think Illinois will be a Final Four contender whenever it's all said and done this year.
I see a lot more avenues for Illinois to improve throughout the season than I do for Tennessee, is what I'll say.
Yeah, I don't think the continuity's not quite there. I also think that Illinois should probably play differently from what they have in the past. They don't have, the athletes that they did 2 years ago to just, play in transition and ISO a lot. And defensively, I think they should probably play in gaps more versus, denying the ball really hard and, leaving guys on islands. But I think, there's a lot of time for them to figure it out. They're obviously a supremely talented team and have NBA prospects, all over the floor. I like they will get it right. I don't think, a loss on Saturday ends their season by any means. I certainly hope it doesn't spiral them in the wrong direction because they have a road game at Ohio State after that. That they'll get it figured out. I honestly have no idea who to pick in this one. I feel like both teams could use a win here.
Jonathan, if Illinois loses to Tennessee and then again to Ohio State, does Brad Underwood start talking about a mysterious virus that has come through his team?
Yeah, maybe guys drinking too many energy drinks too.
Here's to
that. Perfectly timed.
That's a great podcast moment. One more of the big games for tomorrow that I want to get into. Top 20 matchup per Ken Palm. We mentioned Auburn a little earlier. Arizona will be hosting the Tigers at McHale in Tucson. Tough environment to walk into. Arizona already has those 3 notable wins to this point. They beat Florida, they beat UCLA, they beat UConn. None of those were on their home floor. They get a big game on their home floor. Will they be able to add another notable win to their already impressive resume, Jonathan?
I think, but I'm not super confident in it. Arizona, I think plays a high variance style in the fact that they don't shoot any threes. So it's hard for them to truly separate from a team and blow somebody out. However, on the Auburn side of this, this might be the most athletic team that Arizona's played so far, and Arizona's rim defense is really good. So I'm a little concerned about, the resistance that Arizona has provided to other teams being the same here. Now, I think Arizona is probably the better team, and they're at home, so it's tough to pick against them. If Auburn wins the game, I think it's just because, like, you know, they hit outside shots and,
But
you know, they can.
Pettiford and Keyshawn Hall might need 25 plus each to win this one.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think this game's going to get up there in terms of total points. Arizona scores a lot, even though they don't take a lot of threes because they can really pound the paint. Auburn, solid defensive team, but definitely not like a very good one at this point in time.
Right. Yeah.
Think they can be exploited in terms of their physicality around the rim right now. Don't think Keyshawn Murphy defensively has been quite as good as he was last year. Think that Keyshawn Hall is not an awesome defender. So with Arizona's front court, I think they have the resources with which to kind of be able to score a lot of points in the paint in this game. It's just that we know Auburn has a ton of guys that can hit those outside shots. I think if Auburn is going to win this game, Sebastian Williams-Adams is going to be really important. I don't know how many minutes he's going to have to play or have to play well in for them to win this game. I mean, he's played over 20 minutes in every single game. Played 27 minutes in the win against NC State. I think he's probably their most versatile defensive player. And I think that's something that they're going to need in this type of game. And obviously they're going to need to make shots. And last year when they were in a game like this where they kind of just needed that little extra push to separate, and they had Tahad Pettiford coming off the bench and kind of what I always said, unlocking the game. Now the fact that Tahad Pettiford is their starter, he's their starting point guard. He is the guy that they're relying on to get things going for them. Obviously Hall as well. I don't think this is a role that suits Pettiford quite as well as the come in and unlock things. And I think that's part of the reason why he's struggled. And I think it's part of the reason why I don't think that he's going to have quite as impactful of a year as he did last season. Even if, I mean, he'll still put up great numbers. I do think Arizona is built at this point in time a little bit better for this game. But I do have my concerns about Arizona overall. Like, I do think, like, when you get to the end of the game, you have Jaden Bradley, right now who's been the best closer in the sport. But I definitely do have my long-term concerns about Arizona. I don't really think the way that they're winning right now is entirely sustainable going long-term. I think that they're closer to their ceiling right now than most teams are in November. And yes, I mean, you could say, like, oh, Barry's hasn't gotten going.
Yeah, I disagree with that, Fetterman, a lot.
I know Barry's hasn't gotten going, but I also kind of think that we've also seen some really, really good moments from what was I trying to say? But I also just think that Arizona, not a particularly deep team in general, eventually Barry's gets going, gives them another element, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get like 68% true shooting all year from Jaden Bradley. I don't know how much shooting 11 threes in these types of games is sustainable for winning long-term against high-level teams. I think they'll be a threat. I just think that they have had some positive variance so far in some late-game situations, and part of that is they have Jaden Bradley, who's the best closer in the sport, as I mentioned.
I want to see them play from behind.
Me too.
Like, I think Barry's is definitely the key to them improving throughout the year. Like, right now, it's unfair to them.
They had that comeback against UCLA, but, like, again, what is UCLA?
Yeah, they're not a, you know, I don't think they're a great team. But anyway, I think that, you know, Barry's is their ceiling right now. They're obviously very good, probably far ahead of a lot of teams in terms of, like, how high they've peaked already. But if Braden Barry starts playing like, you know, a 5-star prospect and an NBA prospect, yeah, sky's the limit for these guys.
Yeah, I think Arizona still has a ton of room to grow, honestly, just because of how young they are. And Braden Burries hasn't really gotten going yet. And I think people are still underestimating just how freaking good he is. But Dwayne Airstode, off the bench is another guy who has kind of, been struggling to find his footing a little bit as a freshman. And whenever those two guys get going, I mean, I think Arizona is one of those upper echelon title contenders this year. I really do. Sam, shout out to you for shouting out Sebastian Williams Adams. By the way, that's how I know you are a major ball knower, because Sebastian Williams Adams was one of my favorite players probably in all of high school basketball. And to see what he's doing at Auburn has been pretty awesome. He's just a complete Swiss Army knife at 6'8". Not going to shoot the lights off from three, but literally can do everything else on the court, like pass it, handle the ball. Sebastian Williams Adams is a guy, and I agree with you. He's going to be super important to kind of stop this front court, and I think he'll draw Koa Pete in this game quite often. But I think Arizona's size is kind of going to be the thing that gives Auburn a lot of problems in this game. I mean, 6'10", Murphy, 6'8", Adams, and if they go to Opurum, I believe is how you say his name, off the bench, that's a 7-footer to put out there, but he's averaging, about.
Yeah, if you have to dig deep into your bench to find your size.
No, that's what I'm worried about, and how the heck do they match up against Krivas and all of those guys down low.
Yeah, I'm very okay. What I'll say about Arizona is, for a team that has 3 wins this high profile away from home this early into the season, for them to still kind of not be metrically among the elite teams. They are 11th in Torvik without preseason priors, despite their gaudy, their 3 notable wins. I do think that is just something to keep an eye on. Whether the metrics will end up disagreeing with whether the predictives will end up disagreeing with the resume metrics on Arizona long term. Just keep an eye on what we think of this team and how we see them play in these types of games. Just think it's something to follow over the course of the year. Jonathan, do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think, there are, a couple different directions you can go with Arizona. Like, one, teams catch them because, they've peaked already, and, teams get better throughout the season and they don't. 2, Braden Berries emerges and, he gives them another dimension offensively that they don't already have. Or, 3, they become a more versatile, unit as a whole. Jaden Bradley starts taking more threes, they start taking more threes as a whole. Or, maybe teams don't catch them and they're just, this good all year.
Yeah, we'll have to see. All right, that is the big game preview for tonight and tomorrow. There's obviously some big games on Sunday. We'll get to those tomorrow night with DeRosa. I just do want to give you guys the chance to talk a little Mizzou, Kansas.
Sam,
so I'll say this, Litskin. I was texting one of my buddies about Missouri this year, because I personally have not watched a Missouri game this year.
You're not missing much.
And he said, he was talking about Mark Mitchell, and then he said Jacob Cruz needs some help. And I sent back to him, if you're telling me that Jacob Cruz is the guy that needs help, then I think Missouri needs help. So I'll let you respond to that.
I will also say Mark Mitchell has taken 10 3-pointers this year. That is 11 too many.
Yeah, he actually made a crucial one against Notre Dame, and it, didn't end up mattering.
Mark Mitchell shooting threes looks like William Kyle shooting free throws. It is ugly.
I think that what ended up turning, the tide for Mizzou last year was actually beating Kansas at home. That propelled the team to the level that they ended up getting to. like I don't really see it with this team right now. I think the it's a frustrating program to watch play defense. They allow way too many open catch and shoot threes. It's the offense doesn't have as many shooters as it did a year ago, and I know they're not shooting a bad percentage from three. Just like it does not feel like the offense is as good right now, and it doesn't feel like they're getting out in transition as much as they want to. If they can get a win on Sunday, obviously would be a substantial win for the program. I can't see it right now. Like,
and Darren Peterson just got the word from Self is set to play.
Of course he is.
Without if there's no setbacks, Darren Peterson will be playing. So,
Jonathan, what was our biggest talking point kind of about Mizzou coming into this season when we talked about this team? It was Anthony Robinson. That was what we were talking about.
Yeah.
How is he doing? Is he
not well?
He hasn't taken the lead.
He hasn't. And he fouled out of the last game in 37 minutes. So that's progress.
I think people honestly underestimated just how good Missouri actually was last year. I know they lost to Drake in the first round.
They were very good.
Missouri was really freaking good last year. So, yeah, I'll just say that. Don't know much about the team this year, but the Jayhawks, man, golly, like I think having Darren Peterson out has just given so many guys an opportunity to figure out, like, okay, this is my role. This is what I can do for this. And now the fact that he's coming back and everybody has figured that out, I think Kansas is a Big 12 contender, and not many people were saying that preseason. I wasn't even saying that preseason because of so many question marks about the supporting cast, but I think the supporting cast is pretty good. I got Kansas by like 15 points, Litskin. I'm sorry.
Jonathan, on the topic.
Extend that to 20, and I'm with you.
On the topic of last year's Mizzou team, I think that we have to do an update on the latest happenings with Caleb Grill.
Oh, I think we might. It's been a while.
On November 30th,
is he still playing?
On November 30th, he scored 19 points in 33 minutes for the Windy City Bulls against the Cleveland Charge.
Let's go, Caleb.
That's your latest
I think Caleb has a brother, does he not, that's playing right now?
Does he?
I saw there was a grill that was playing. Gosh, what game was I at?
He has Kyle and Alec.
Yeah, Kyle. Wait, who does Kyle play for?
Fort Hays State.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yes, Kansas played Fort Hays in an exhibition. I was like, "Who is this? Caleb Grill's brother?" And
he has another brother who I think is a senior in high school at Mays High School.
Damn, they're like 9 years apart.
Yeah, dang.
All right, we got to do like a high major lightning round. Start crosstown shootout tonight. Xavier, Cincinnati. Xavier's looked a little bit better since the drubbing losses to Santa Clara and Iowa. I kind of think that's a pretty low bar that they set, but they are up to 81 in KenPom, Cincinnati at 72. Anything you're keeping an eye on in this game?
Xavier might not score 60 points.
Cincinnati might not score 60 points.
Yeah, I just hope there's a lot of energy. These two teams are, rivals, but clearly not at the level that they have been at one point in time.
But I will say, like, I do think that it is important to like think about these rivalry games. So, like, even when the teams aren't good, you can kind of throw this stuff out. Like, the environment's going to be crazy, and these teams hate each other. Whatever it is, I don't think this game's going to be not interesting.
Wes Miller cannot lose this game. I will also say that he just can't do it.
Yeah, I think it would be a very bad result for him. He's already got the loss to Eastern Michigan. They're kind of filing towards the back of what's going to be a top-heavy Big 12. And we know he's seemingly on the hot seat, considering that he has not made the NCAA tournament in his first 4 seasons at Cincinnati. So
I need this one for the fantasy league. So,
all right. Next up, we've got some Big Ten games: Ohio State, Northwestern, Washington, USC, Oregon, UCLA. The good news for Washington is that Hannes Steinbach is back, and he was awesome against UCLA. The bad news is that they lost despite Hannes Steinbach being awesome. And I think they also need Ignacevic back at some point, but I also just kind of think like, hey, what is Washington at this point?
It's a great question.
And now they have to go on the road.
I think they're to answer that question, I think they're a team still searching for a marquee win.
Yeah, they could get one. They could, but I think it's a really difficult ask for a Washington team that feels this reliant on a guy like Steinbach. You just saw how much better they were in this game compared to when he wasn't on the floor. I felt.
Yeah, the on-off splits are staggering.
And this is a USC team that has a really, really strong front court with Kofi and Dickerson and a lot of size overall. So I don't think this is again, Washington has really talented guards too. Like,
yeah,
I think it's
really young but talented.
Yeah, Desmond Claude,
except for Claude, who
I don't know if he's either, but
and I want to say, guys, honestly, shout out to Eric Musselman in USC for the start, because Musselman admitted to me at Big Ten Media Day, like, he built this team around Elijah Arenas. Like, he built the team around him. And to not have
I think that was him giving himself
still be playing this well, I mean, you got to tip your cap.
I think he was giving himself a built-in excuse because he spent a lot of money on like Chad Baker-Mazara and Rodney Rice. Like I don't think that I don't think that was I think that was calculated.
Perhaps, but I don't know. I think I still think without Elijah, this is pretty.
It's a good start. It's a good start, but like, do they have a notable win yet?
Seton Hall, come on, Seton Hall, put some respect on Seton.
Yeah, no, Seton Hall's solid. That's also a game they probably should have lost.
Yeah.
I think that could end up being quad one.
It could.
Yeah.
But
Oregon, not looking like a great.
But
win.
I will say, if USC wins this game against Washington, they'll be 9-0. They do not play another top 150 team until January 2nd when they go to Michigan.
Yeah,
something to keep an eye on.
They beat Illinois State too. Is pretty decent.
Yeah, I don't think Illinois State.
I
don't think Illinois State scales up well. They're a very good mid-major team, though.
They're a fun Valley offense.
Mm-hmm.
And then anything on Ohio State, Northwestern?
I haven't seen either team this year. I can't lie.
I've seen Northwestern a couple times. They
need this.
They've been, they were close to getting a couple big wins, and then you get blown out at Wisconsin. They just need to figure out their defense right now. It's not at the level I thought it would be.
Yeah, at Ohio State, we know how good they are offensively. They can really put ball in basket. But Northwestern at home, coaching advantage. I think they have the talent. I just think this is a good spot for Northwestern.
So
Dayton, Virginia, and Charlotte. I talked about Virginia on the Up the Coast pod with Tyler Cronin, as I mentioned last night. And I really like this Virginia team. 7-1. I think that, like, if they didn't have that loss to Butler, people would be talking a lot about Virginia. But obviously they do have it, and it is something to keep an eye on. But hey, that loss is probably better than we than like we thought it would look at the beginning of the year if they had that loss.
But Butler looks like they're on the right side of the bubble right now.
And Virginia, I also think like in national media circles kind of got maybe not punished, but forgotten about because of how low they started in the metrics at 59. When I had this team as a top 25 caliber team in the preseason, they're up to 24 in KenPom after throttling Texas. They have what might be the best rim protection 1-2 in the country with Grunlow, and then you've got Onyenso off the bench. So it's really tough to score on them inside. It's going to be a tough test for Emil Tong, for Keontae Jones, for Dayton's guys. And I think Virginia, the way that Chance Mallory has played as well, coming off the bench, giving them that spark in kind of the way that we saw Pettiford do last year, as kind of just this undersized guard that can go off and get a bucket off the bench when he needs to. I think that is something that can really, really benefit this Virginia team.
Yeah, I don't have, a ton more.
Also, like Dayton's wins against Marquette and Georgetown, like they aren't aging. They're not aging well. Yeah. So this is kind of their only other chance for a high major win for Dayton coming after this will be Florida State. And that doesn't look like it's going to be a real chance either, with especially being a home game for Dayton. So this might be Dayton's last chance to get a real resume win in the non-con.
Right.
And they have to go to Loyola Chicago on January 3rd, early in A10 play, that's going to be a landmine for somebody. I don't know who. It's going to be a landmine for somebody.
Yeah. Shout out Chance Mallory. That's the only thing.
It was a landmine for Central Michigan on Tuesday.
Chance Mallory's that guy. He was incredible to watch on the trail. So it does not surprise me at all. He's playing well in college.
Baylor at Memphis. Speaking of teams that really need a marquee win, Memphis 3-4 does not have a win against a top 100 team yet. They have their next 4 games are all against top 100 teams. They are projected to lose all of them on KenPom. Oh boy.
It seems like Memphis has a lot of problems right now that might necessarily not be on the court stuff. I know Bradshaw did not play last game because of coach's decision.
I was surprised.
Yeah. This Memphis team is not looking great.
I feel like Aaron Bradshaw might lead the country in DNP coach's decision at some point.
It's a possibility
for a guy of that talent level,
and,
or at least he has had so many games over the last couple of years where he's playing 3 minutes.
And Penny said after the game, if guys aren't on the floor, quote, that means they're not giving everything. So looks like they got a lot going on there, Memphis now.
Memphis had a lot of problems front court wise with their roster coming into the season. They kind of just had to throw stuff together in terms of putting guys out there, and it was kind of really hinging on Bradshaw. And Bradshaw has not been good. Doug McDaniel again, talented guy, but they're asking him to do a lot, and we kind of saw, when K-State and Michigan asked him to be the lead guy, how did that go for them? So kind of think that's where we're at with this Memphis team. For Baylor, kind of a chance to get a road win. Baylor does not play another road game in the non-conference. Have been impressed with Cam Carr so far this year. Yeah. And I think that once Baylor gets Bodo back, I don't know when that's going to be, but once they do get,
I think it's close. I think he's going
to get any sort of a playmaking out of Tunde or Carr when they get Bodo back. They can go to some really big lineups and kind of be able to be a lot better defensively. And we know obviously how how fun they are offensively with those guys. So I think they just need to find a little bit more playmaking from Kari, Yesufu, get Bodo back, and then they can really hit their ceiling and be a really good basketball team.
And Scott Drew just absolutely nailed the portal this offseason, by the way. I mean, he completely flipped the roster. I believe – I don't think there's anybody returning, right? I think Baylor completely flipped it.
This is 2 teams, by the way, that have not a single minute returning.
Wow.
Memphis did not have a minute last year either.
And so Scott Drew's got these guys playing. I mean, they got – it looks like 6 guys in double figures right now with Carr leading the way at 23 points per game. My gosh. So I think Baylor will be bubbly, but on the right side of it this season.
I think they have what it takes to be better than the bubble if they can obviously get Bodo back.
Yeah, their defense has not been good, but offense has been a lot better, honestly, than I thought it would be. So, like, once they get Bodo back, I think we'll find out a lot more.
How many times are we going to say once they get Bodo back, Jonathan?
LJ Cryer timeline.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he on the LJ Cryer timeline? We should create a list of guys on the LJ Cryer
Sam, for since you don't know, we created this thing called the LJ Cryer timeline for when for certain guys when they're hurt. A couple years ago, when LJ Cryer was actually at Baylor before he was at Houston, he just was injured for months on end, and he was week to week the entire time. And so when we don't know when guys are coming back, we just call it the LJ Cryer.
Sounds like Remy Martin with Kansas a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. There are many instances of this.
Sneaky notable game for the Big East and for the Mountain West. Butler hosting Boise State. This is probably not a game Butler can lose if they're going to want to be in the mix for an at-large. Considering how few opportunities the Big East is going to provide, and obviously Boise State needs a win because they did not come out of Maui with anything aside from that Chaminade win. They obviously have the Hawaii Pacific loss, which does not affect their net, but it affects their resume. I don't think Boise State is going to make a run at an at-large at this point, but if they're going to, they really, really need this win.
Yeah, I think Butler is maybe a bit underrated right now, honestly. I could see them being as good as the 3rd or 4th best team in the Big East when we're done with this season. They have a nice mix of shooting and athleticism, and I think it's a tough matchup when you combine those two. Michael Ajayi has just been a star for them.
Yeah, do we know if Jalen Jackson's going to play in this game?
I do not.
At practice, still in a walking boot, but he did some individual drills. That was a tweet from yesterday.
If he was still in a walking boot, I wouldn't expect him to play.
Yeah. So don't think he's going to play if he's in the walking boot, as you mentioned. But Biz Jack's been great. I mentioned Ajayi's awesome. But I also do look at, Biz Jack's shooting 46% from 3, and Jamie Kaiser's shooting 47. Evan Haywood's shooting 48.
They're shooting 41% as a team.
I think there's a little bit of, this team's probably shooting a little better than what they are right now.
41% is going to be hard to maintain all season long.
Absolutely. But think Butler's going to pull this one out. Home crowd, kind of get up for a game. 2 teams that have not lived up to their preseason expectations going at Madison Square Garden. It is the St. John's Red Storm against the Mississippi Rebels. Mississippi now all the way down to 52 in KenPom after losing at home to Miami in a game that was not as close as the score suggests. Mississippi has the losses to Iowa and Utah. This is their first true road game. It will be at the Garden against St. John's, a St. John's team that also kind of needs a win. They have that win over Baylor, but they also have the 3 losses already. Kind of coming back from players there, going to get the crowd bump. I think for St. John's, I think this is kind of a good spot for Rick Pitino's team.
Maybe just a bad old Ole Miss team too.
Yeah, Mississippi might just not be very good, and I think that's something.
AJ Storr just might be a detriment to winning. Just might be.
Oh yeah, AJ Storr's return to Madison Square Garden. Revenge game.
Yeah.
AJ Storr leads the country in revenge games.
How many revenge spots does AJ Storr have?
I mean, in high school he had like 13.
Yeah, I mean, he went to 4 different high schools. He's on his 4th school in college.
Do you guys see the whole video of Chris Beard interrupting him on the podium?
Oh yeah,
yes.
Like I like James Scott. I like Malik Dia, but I think St. John's is like a little bit more physical in the post, and I don't know if Mississippi's guards are quite good enough to take advantage of St. John's being not a good defensive perimeter team in the way that I think St. John's can kind of dominate the paint offensively.
Yeah, St. John's is interesting to me this year. I think maybe what the problem is there's a little too much comparison game being played between this year's team and last year's team, and the personnel is just
it was an overcompensation.
Yeah, the personnel is so different. I will say this: I think that St. John's this year will have a much worse regular season, but Rick Pitino will figure it out and make the Elite Eight out of nowhere with this group.
It's possible.
I still think they're going to win a ton of games because the Big East is so bad. It's a lot different, and they've lost.
Yeah, I think they had such a strong identity last year.
They're not going to be able to lean into that. Just you cannot do anything against us offensively.
I mean, I think they have an identity right now of, hey, we have Zuby Ejiofor and you don't, and I think that can work against Mississippi.
What's funny is their assist rate is not low. Their turnover rate is not super low. They're still not shooting a ton of threes or shooting it well. So the point guard issue has not been super apparent in terms of it's costing them games, but they're just
I think that's kind of been because Zuby and Bryce have been so good.
Well, the point I was going to make is you talked, Sam, about their lack of identity compared to last year. They don't win in the margins like they did last year, right now. So I think that's what's costing them games.
Yeah. Mississippi is definitely not one in the margins either. That's another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Both teams need this one. We've got Colorado at Colorado State. Colorado undefeated, Jonathan.
Yeah, and you're about.
This is 66 versus 67 in KenPom, by the way.
Nice. You're about 3 or 4 more straight Colorado wins, Sam, from you being kicked off the show.
You said South Carolina was going
to. I don't think I've been. You're right. I don't think I've been.
Also, remember your Nebraska.
More on the spot so far about a team than in Colorado. I had them 66th in my preseason rankings, and they're 67th right now.
Yeah, good for them. Tough spot to go into Colorado State. Colorado State's been solid this year.
Yeah, it's a good home atmosphere.
Good home atmosphere.
Even though the game's not far from Colorado, obviously.
Again, Colorado's first true road game. This is kind of a theme of what I'm going to say. Is this team, and they are a young team. They have
very young team. Very young team.
Ready to go into a big rivalry atmosphere and win. I will say though, Colorado State definitely due for some shooting regression. They went 16 of 22 from 3 in their last game. I just fear that if Colorado State doesn't make 12 threes, that's not enough to win these types of games. because like Colorado State is not a good defensive team, and like Colorado State can make 12 threes. Like that's a big ask for them to be able to do it. That's kind of like a lower bound, or 10 threes maybe. We'll see. George Mason.
Shout out Tad Boyle. Shout out Tad Boyle, really quick. Former Kansas.
Tad is very underrated. He does a decent amount with basically nothing.
George Mason going to Virginia Tech. Jonathan. George Mason is 9-0. Another chance for an undefeated team to go on the road for the first time. And
seems like we're going to be down a lot of undefeated teams this weekend.
Yeah, only 15 left, right? Is that
what? Although, I think this is very winnable.
Yeah, I do too.
Right now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 15. I'm counting.
And a bunch of them play on the road.
Yep.
George Mason's a much better offensive team than they were last year. I think that's a big thing. Corey Mincy's been really good for them. Besides, Troutman's given them a lot as well. I do kind of think Virginia Tech is a little better inside, especially if they have a low wall.
Virginia Tech needs Neo to look like, the bona fide top 10 pick he looked like against Providence, because he hasn't since then. So if Virginia Tech's going to hold serve here, Neo's got to be Neo.
Yeah, I mean, Virginia Tech's not like a great team, but they are talented. They have, obviously that Dallas is great. Jalen Bedford has looked good this year. Hansbury's been phenomenal. I think they have enough guys where they can come out and be able to win a home game against a good team. I think George Mason has what it takes to come out and win this game on the road, especially if their guards can hit shots the way that they've been hitting shots so far this year. I mean, Mincy, Troutman, Jahari Long have been so good shooting the ball.
It looks like Kim Pom has us as a 2-point game.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be a one to keep an eye on 3 o'clock tomorrow. Seton Hall, Kansas State. Jonathan, anything on this one?
Didn't think I'd be more interested in the Seton Hall side of this game. Not that I thought Kansas State was going to be, world beaters.
A lot of teams playing their first true road games, but I feel like Kansas State might.
Kansas State needs this in a major way. They've lost 3 in a row. The last one being a bye game to a good Bowling Green team. Not a team you should lose to. In a moment. Not a team you should lose to at home by 16. So, yeah, Kansas State needs this. Seton Hall has been a lot better than many of us thought they were going to be, and they say defense travels. Like we'll see.
I thought Kansas State was a tournament team coming into the season, and Kansas State could not guard me in the pick and roll, guys. So, and unless Haggerty and Bashir make about 7 triples a piece, Kansas State is not going to win a ton of games this season. So, I got Seton Hall to get it done on the road and really just kind of cause problems for Kansas State offensively. No bias at all in this answer, by the way.
This is, I think, another team, you want to talk about teams that overcorrected. I think this Kansas State team overcorrected. Offensively, pieces did not fit last year. Now they have, a ton of shooters, but not any defense whatsoever.
Yeah, I think I kind of expected a little more defensively from Nate Johnson and a team that has Johnson and McGriff and Rapique, but they just haven't given them anything defensively from their guards right now. I also think that kind of playing Bashir 60% of the minutes is going to hurt the defense. That is one of the worst defenders in high major basketball. Haggerty, a guy that 35% usage on offense, he's not going to give you a lot defensively either.
And Johnson's either been really good or not so good at all. So getting some consistency from Nate Johnson is probably going to be big for them too. And I love Nate Johnson's game. I will say so.
We know Seton Hall can kind of dominate the paint. Hines and Payne, obviously. Fisher does a good job too. Bud Clark can control a game. We've now seen that at the high major level over the last week or so. Between Feast Week, he was great against NC State. He had a really strong game against USC as well. He had 12 assists against Central Connecticut. He hasn't had his scoring outbursts so far this year, and it's down from 34% usage to 25% usage. And I think that's a good sign that they're able to get production from other guys and not just Bud Clark, which was something we were concerned about in the preseason. Wake Forest against West Virginia, a game that's being played in Charleston, West Virginia. Definitely kind of an urgent one, I feel, on both sides here, Sam.
Yeah. Wake Forest has looked so incredibly good at times this season, yet it seems like Wake Forest has nothing to show for it.
And they looked bad against Oklahoma.
Yeah, I did not watch that one, but whenever I saw the box score there, I was very utterly confused by that. West Virginia has kind of been interesting this year too. Huff, obviously they're shooting about 15 threes a game. I think Wake Forest comes out with a win here against West Virginia, but I think this will actually be a pretty close game.
Yeah, I don't think West Virginia is going to play a lot of games that aren't close against high major teams this year. At least high major teams are not the Iowa States or Houston's. I think those teams could beat them by a bunch, but they play Iowa State and Houston on the road within their first 4 games of Big 12 play. I think those games could be double-digit games, but I don't think they're going to play a ton of double-digit games on either side. I think they have elite paint presence, just elite physicality on this roster. Obioha, Brennan Lorient, Jasper Floyd, even in the backcourt as a guy that wants to put his body into you. I think that's something that this West Virginia team does a really good job with. They're the number 1, I think, rebounding team, number 1 defensive rebounding team in the country, number 2 2-point percentage defense in the country. And Wake Forest, they really, really struggled to rebound the ball against Oklahoma. They did not get much in the paint against Oklahoma. And Oklahoma is not an awesome rebounding team. They are not as good, I think, down low or close to as good down low and physically as West Virginia. And I think that this will play into West Virginia's hands with the physicality. I do think, though, Juke Harris is the best player on the floor in this game. And in a game that is decided by just 1 or 2 possessions, even if West Virginia is the better team, the team with the best player on the floor could come out and win in that type of game.
I think Wake's going to have to create some havoc in this game. They've done a decent job creating turnovers this year. Oklahoma didn't turn them over really much at all in that game. So I think that'll be something to kind of look at, is if Wake Forest can turn over West Virginia, get out and run, make some plays. I think that'll be key for them.
The last high major game that I want to talk about, and I only want to touch on it very quickly, it is Oklahoma, and they're playing Arizona State. I think Oklahoma is going to put up a lot of points. I think Arizona State is also probably going to put up a lot of points. Jonathan, who do you think is going to put up more?
Well, I'll go with Arizona State. Sam, you mentioned something to me yesterday that Mo Odom's taken the most off the dribble jumpers of anyone in the country. It's not particularly surprising, but I don't think Oklahoma's backcourt does a really great job of keeping guys in front of them. So I think Mo Odom could have a huge game here.
Yeah. All right. Any other high major games that you guys want to have a statement on over the next 2 days?
I think I just want to mention that tomorrow there's 15 games between top 75 Ken Pom teams. That combined with, obviously the college football conference championships tomorrow. It's just a unbelievable sports day.
A lot of screens. gonna have to get a lot of screens.
Yeah, I'll be working.
A lot of rivalries tomorrow. You've got Colorado State. You've got
Oregon, UCLA.
Yeah, you got the Big Five Classic, which we'll get into.
Did we touch on Santa Clara, New Mexico at all?
Yeah, we're getting to that. That's the next thing we're going to discuss. A lot of rivalry games. I'm going to be at Lemoyne, Binghamton. That's a rivalry. Not sure how many people that know about that, but it is a rivalry.
I did not know that.
You've got Delaware State. That's a rivalry. You've got a lot of those types of games, and I think that's good for the sport. That you have a lot of rivalry games.
Hey, say hi to Coach Johnson for me, Fetterman. When you're at that Binghamton game. Binghamton.
All right. Now let's talk mid-major lightning round. Jonathan, Santa Clara, New Mexico.
I love Santa Clara. I think they're a awesome team that could potentially be in the at-large conversation. Elijah Mahi has been great for them. So is Christian Hammond. Yeah,
I want to say Elijah Mahi's been good. He has not been he's not been.
There's definitely room for him to improve.
He's not been as good as he can be. And Isaac Trotter texted me the other day. He's like, "I'm sad that Elijah Mahi got fat. He's just not moving the same." And I'm like, yeah, I've seen that. But the fact that he's not been as awesome as we thought he was going to be, and the Santa Clara team is still rock. Christian Hammond is awesome, and Ensminger's given them good production. Napper's given them good stuff. They've gotten tremendous rim protection from Oboye.
Does their G League guy play often, Fetterman?
He plays 50% of the minutes. He doesn't really touch the ball.
He's not good.
Yeah, I think Kevin Sweeney last week came on and said we broke the rules so Thierry Darlan can have an 86 offensive rating.
Yeah. That's the thing that I think people are freaking out about, the G League guys. You have these guys coming over. There's no guarantee that any of these guys are good.
Yeah, I don't think New Mexico's played up to their potential quite yet. I mean, I know they have that.
I saw New Mexico there in Kansas City, and I'll say about New Mexico, the talent. You watch them, and nothing jumps off the page, but Olin could just coach.
I think this team will get better as the year goes on.
Agreed.
And especially coming into the pit, that's a tough place to go and win.
And Bullion.
Bullion's great.
Tomislav Bullion has been absolutely awesome, and I love saying his name.
Yeah, Bullion's terrific. They've gotten Uriah Tennett's been a good kind of second point guard with Dayton Albury as well, who's kind of been good but not awesome quite yet. Jake Hall, another freshman who's come in and hit a ton of shots for them. So I think they've been getting some production from guys that maybe we didn't think about in the preseason. A lot of the talk that we had was Albury, Howell, Scholl, maybe a little bit of Kevin Patton in there. But they've gotten good stuff from Tennant. They've gotten good stuff from Bullion. It is a note that Bullion did not play against New Mexico Highlands in their last game. I don't know if he's a go for this one. Let me check if Jeff Grammer has said anything about that. He was warming up for that game, but he didn't play.
What's he got? Ankle? Is that?
Yeah, I think it's ankle. They were probably just holding him out against a non-D1, so he'll probably go. That's big for them. But man, Santa Clara is a damn good basketball team.
Got my Billikens.
Yeah. Okay. Couple more mid-major games to discuss. Utah Valley against Bowling Green. Utah Valley is the preseason favorite one of the preseason favorites out of the WAC. They have lost 3 games so far this year. They lost San Diego State. They lost by 1 to Fresno State, and they got blown out by Boise State. They're going to Bowling Green. Todd Simon used to be the coach at Southern Utah, so he's facing an old rival. Bowling Green is 6-2. They are one of the best teams in the country at forcing turnovers, and Utah Valley is a team that turns the ball over a whole bunch. I think this is a good spot for Javonte Campbell against Trevin Lionheart and this Utah Valley team. Now, Utah Valley has good size in the backcourt, and like Campbell is not huge, but I also think that, hey, Bowling Green's not small as a team either. This is definitely one to keep an eye on with two teams that will be in the mix for their conference races throughout the year. Obviously, Bowling Green's got Akron in their league, and Akron's really, really good. But what I look at is the fact that I know what Bowling Green does as a team and how they can kind of force you to play out of your element offensively and force a ton of turnovers.
Yeah.
And I think Utah Valley can struggle with that.
Yeah, it's not just turnovers either. They force a lot of live ball turnovers, so they can get out and
Javonte Campbell, he's got he averages so many steals. And Sam Towns has been really strong for them. Had a really good game against Kansas State in that win. So I'm going to give Bowling Green the edge at home against Utah Valley, improved to 7-2. So that's going to be one to keep an eye on. And again, this is a really good, a really fun MAC. There's still 2 undefeated teams left in the Mid-American Conference. One of them is Buffalo. Buffalo hosts St. Bonaventure tomorrow. This is a rivalry game. Buffalo, it's probably their biggest home game that they've had in a long time. And I think it'll be a lively environment. Bona fans will travel, as they always do. It's only about an hour drive compared to how much they have to travel for usual games. But I think this will be a really good crowd, really lively environment. And if Buffalo is for real, they are 8-0. Their best win is DePaul. Again, 117 in KenPom, not a bad best win to have. But outside of that, nothing from any team inside the top 200. They played pretty close games against Green Bay. VMI was only an 8-point game. Bucknell was a 2-point game. Vermont Solid, that was a 4-point game. Now, Buffalo is 206 in KenPom. This is a chance to kind of say, hey, we're for real. They started from 329 in KenPom, and they've gone up.
206 in KenPom, but receiving an AP vote, Fetterman. Don't sleep on Buffalo.
No, I think this team has a really good backcourt with Brizzy, Sable, and Freitag as kind of 3 guys, a 3-headed monster. But I'm just curious how they're going to be able to deal with Frank Mitchell because Buffalo has not been an awesome rebounding team. They have, however, been able to get guys into foul trouble, and that is something that I've known in the past has been a Frank Mitchell issue. It has not been quite as much of a Frank Mitchell issue this season. Would like to see if, say, Oboe would like to see if Oboe and Brizzy and Freitag can kind of get him into foul trouble a little bit in this one. Keeping an eye on that. That's kind of my key for Buffalo. Bonaventure, I think they are. Bonaventure should be able to win this game. They are the A10 team going to Buffalo, who has not been particularly great over the last couple of years. Obviously, really good this year. It's a much different story. But again, Bonaventure is a favorite on the road. I think they're probably a better basketball team, but you never know in this type of rivalry game. It's really just a huge moment for the Buffalo program.
The contrast of styles is kind of interesting. Obviously, Buffalo shoots a ton of threes. St. Bonaventure is towards the bottom, Division I shooting threes. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, when Bonaventure does shoot those threes, though, they make them. Buddy Simmons can really, really stroke it to the outside.
I love watching that kid play.
No, he's great. That's one to keep an eye on for sure. Big Five Classic, Jonathan. I can't believe they're letting a team from the suburbs play for the city championship. Villanova, not a Philly school.
Absurd. It canceled the whole thing.
Yeah. Penn, you are the last hope for society. TJ Power, please save me. TJ Power. Ethan Roberts, please save me. There's nothing I want to see more out of this game than Fran McCaffrey getting to dangerous FranCon levels, but not quite enough to get ejected. I would love to see that. I saw Penn last weekend at the Palestra. Power and Roberts are awesome. They've been great, but we kind of know what Power is against high major teams, and there's a reason he's at Penn and not still at Virginia or Duke. Dalton Scantlebury had a solid weekend, but again, how is he going to scale up? Penn kind of got blown out when they played Providence in that second half. They played close in the first half, but I don't think Penn's a good defensive team, at all, for Ivy League standards. And I think Villanova will kind of be able to have their way offensively in this game, especially on the glass. Penn was getting killed on the glass against LaSalle. They kind of turned it around a little bit, but I think Villanova has the edge physically in this one.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said, Sam. I think Penn is, a good mid-major team, even a good Ivy League team, and could definitely see them playing in Ivy Madness at the end of the year. But yeah, this Villanova team, I think will just be way too physical for them.
Anything on the other games in the Big Five Classic? You've got Drexel LaSalle in the 5th place game, and you've got
sources tell me Patrick Dallahan may be flapping this weekend.
All right. Interesting one. Akron at Tulane. Mentioned Akron earlier. We know that's an awesome basketball team going on the road to Tulane. Another team that we know can really score. This game's going to have a lot of points. I think Akron is just a better team, and even going on the road should be able to pick up the win.
Yeah, I don't think this, Tulane team
is terrible. Akron's points by game this year: 85, 104, 109, 79 at Purdue, 96, 97, 94 in a loss to Yale, 105, 97.
Sam, do you know what teams are shooting against Tulane from 3 right now?
What?
It's over 40%.
40.2.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. I watched them against Utah State in their MTE. That was a day game. Their defense does not provide much resistance, and that's putting it nicely.
Another game that could have a whole bunch of points. William and Mary is going to George Washington. William and Mary is a good CAA team. They're 8-2. Their only losses are by 4 to Richmond on the road and by a lot to St. John's on the road. But they just recently picked up a win at Duquesne. Will they be able to pick up a second win on the road at an A-10 school in as many games?
I'll say no.
Yeah, I'm going to go no here. I just think this offense for GW is going to overwhelm William and Mary.
Yeah, I don't think William and Mary has anyone that can guard Castro at all.
Yeah, that could be an issue. And then last but certainly not least, we've had some conference play get started. Anyone have any takeaways from Big West, Metro Atlantic, Southland, or Horizon League play? I want to talk very quickly about the MAC, if I can go very quickly.
Yeah, go.
I cannot believe how that Ryder Merrimack game ended, by the way, with Ryder throwing the ball off of the ceiling rafters.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that you only find at these mid-major, low major.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're playing in a hockey rink.
There are
Merrimack got a huge game, huge first half from Kavere Kennedy, huge second half from Andres Marrero. Ryder's got a lot of soul searching to do. Good for them to kind of fight back, and they were down by 8. This game felt like it was over with a minute left, but Ryder fought back, made it a 2-point game, gave themselves a chance, and then threw the ball off the catwalk, or off the rafters. Riders now 1-6. Then the Mount St. Mary's Sacred Heart game, really fun watch. Sacred Heart, good offensive team. Anyone else on Big West, Horizon, Southland?
Well,
Amir Khan.
Doug Gottlieb now leads the country in chairs thrown, so that's something.
Amir Khan back at McNeese, and they're 0-1.
Was that real? I couldn't figure out if that was real.
It was.
He reposted it, so
They are 0-1 in the Amir Khan 2.0 era. They lost on the road to Incarnate Word. They host Northwestern State tonight.
For my personal sake, I would love it if McNeese doesn't lose another game in the Southland.
Okay.
Oh, you have them in the league, don't you?
Oh, that's right.
I do indeed have them.
All right, Jonathan, you want to take us home?
Yeah, let's do it. If you came to hear about Tyler Self and where he's working, you came to the right place. And if you came to hear about coaches throwing chairs in the Horizon League, you came to the right place. If you came to hear about the latest happenings with Caleb Grill, you came to the right place. This has been Season 6, Episode 58 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. We'll see you next time.